If you're like me, you enjoy a good bit of lighthearted entertainment. Personally, I loved the FNAF 2 movie, and I've seen it 3 times, twice in the theater. 87 out of 10 movie, honestly. However, if you're like me, you can also rock with more serious stuff. You know, I like a good thick book. I read Phantom of the Opera, Picture of Dorian Gray, and I also like Shakespeare. Shakespeare? What was this video about again? Now, I'm not the most niche Shakespeare fan, but I love me some Midsummer Night's Dream, some Romeo and Juliet, some Twelfth Night, all that. And one day recently, it hit me. Oh my god, Ever After High, but with Shakespeare characters. Now hear me out. Think of the story potential. Descendants of Shakespeare characters going to magical Shakespeare Academy and having to live out a version of their Shakespearean fates. Especially if it was a hypothetical kids cartoon / doll line, I feel like it would be a cool way to make his work hip and approachable for young kids. But anyways, I'm not too sure about the logistics of this concept. Like, I can't decide if the school would be attended by the teenage children of popular Shakespeare characters, because that wouldn't quite work with everyone, obviously, or if it would be more of a clone high kind of concept, but I'm not going to worry too much about that just yet. I don't intend for the idea to be a complete ripoff of Ever After High, but this was kind of my first draft idea. What would give me the most creative freedom would be if there was a sort of system similar to the canon events in the Spider-Verse universe. So every character would go through a specific set of events that their original counterpart went through, but with opportunities for perhaps some different outcomes. For example, Romeo and Juliet could have the same fiasco with the sleeping potion, but they could both come out alive at the end of it. I haven't worried too much about the whys of this whole idea yet, since I'm just thinking about it for fun, and I care more about redesigning the characters, so that's what we're gonna get right into. But before we do, make sure to like and subscribe so you can stay caught up on all future uploads. Now, why not start off with one of the most iconic and beloved Shakespeare characters, Juliet Capulet? If you're unfamiliar, Juliet is one of the main characters in Romeo and Juliet. In the original play, she is the daughter of Lord and Lady Capulet, and the Capulets have a mutual hatred of the Montagues, another well-off family in Verona, Italy, where they all live. She and Romeo Montague end up meeting at a Capulet party and fall in love, which is totally forbidden because they're supposed to hate each other. They get married, but then Romeo ends up dueling Juliet's cousin Tybalt as revenge for Tybalt killing Romeo's friend Mercutio.
They have made worms meat of me! A plague on both your houses!
As a result, Romeo is going to be banished from Verona, and Juliet's dad is going to make her marry this guy Count Paris, who's kind of like Lord Farquaad in my opinion. Juliet fakes her own death by taking a sleeping potion so that she can run away with Romeo. However, Romeo hears instead that she's dead and finds her in the Capulet family tomb, thinks she's dead, and takes his own life. Juliet then wakes up, sees Romeo is gone from this world, and proceeds to take her own life as well. The play is a classic tragedy and has a few adaptations. There's the 1968 movie, the modern-day adaptation starring Leonardo DiCaprio, and others. Now let's talk about my Juliet. She would be a sort of protagonist in her hypothetical kids TV show / doll line. Juliet is your typical very popular but very nice girl who's smart, ambitious, and involved with the school. I thought it would be cool if she was on the school fencing team since, you know, the dagger, and I feel like she'd be on the team with her cousin Tybalt. Maybe she would also be on the student council and help plan school events like dances? Ooh. She has a public rivalry with Romeo, but everyone at school can kind of tell they have a huge crush on each other. When I thought of Juliet, I knew immediately what she looked like in my mind. I wanted to capture some of that 2010s maximalist design that the Ever After High characters had. Obviously, I didn't go full on, but I think I captured it a little bit in her tights and all the ruffly details. She also has a little dagger necklace as another callback to the original story. And there she is. I love how she came out. I think she's so cute. Now we're going to do a bit of a 180 to talk about Viola, who's the main character from the play Twelfth Night. In her story, she's on a ship with her brother Sebastian, but the boat gets shipwrecked and it's a whole thing. But when Viola comes to, Sebastian is nowhere to be found and she believes he drowned in the shipwreck. She's on a beach in the country of Illyria. From what I could find, Illyria is what the region encompassing Croatia, Bosnia, Albania, and a few other countries used to be called, but it also seems like Shakespeare's Illyria was its own separate made-up thing, perhaps? I can't be too sure. If you know, then feel free to comment down below. Anyway, Viola decides to disguise herself as a young man named Cesario since, you know, she's a young woman out all on her own. If she's not strategic, she'll be slimed out on the street. It was like 1623. So, as Cesario, she goes and works for this guy, the Duke Orsino. Orsino is in love with this woman, Olivia, but she's not dating anyone right now because she's mourning her late brother. Orsino sends Cesario/Viola off to talk to Olivia and convince her to take interest in Orsino. Long story super short, Olivia ends up falling in love with Cesario, but Cesario starts falling in love with Orsino, so it's a whole love triangle. Near the end of the story, Sebastian shows up again. Surprise, he's alive. Olivia thinks he's Cesario because they look so similar because they're twins, and she proposes. And Sebastian just goes along with it. Eventually, everyone finds out that Cesario is Viola and Sebastian is her twin, much to Olivia's surprise. The siblings are reunited, and Viola gets together with Orsino while Sebastian and Olivia fall in love. There's a direct movie adaptation of this story, but if you've seen She's the Man, you might not have known that that's also an adaptation of Twelfth Night. Very interesting. For this one, I drew Viola as herself, as well as her Cesario counterpart, but I guess in this version of the story she's posing as Sebastian, not Cesario. We'll get to that later. Anyway, her outfit was kind of pop-punk inspired, and a little bit emo as well, with the plaid and the knee-high Converse reminiscent boots. Viola is kind of a tomboy and plays guitar in a band with her friends, and I haven't decided who those are yet. She's really comfortable around people she's close to, like her brother, but around strangers she gets awkward and starts stuttering and all that. Now, picture this. Imagine Orsino still asks the disguised Viola to convince Olivia to go out with him. Viola reluctantly agrees, but soon finds out she's kind of interested in Olivia. But what would Olivia think if she knew Viola was a girl? Sebastian is Viola's twin brother, like I said before. He's absent from a good portion of Twelfth Night, but he does get his own scene where we learn he was saved by a sailor, Antonio, during the shipwreck. The two arrive at Illyria, and Sebastian decides he will go see Duke Orsino. Antonio follows him despite being a wanted man, and ends up getting arrested. Oops. You know the rest. Olivia proposes to Sebastian, thinking he's Cesario, the whole mix-up gets cleared, and the two happy couples are wed. So says the original story. My Sebastian has a similar fashion sense to his twin sister, but he's noticeably more preppy. Sebastian isn't popular per se, but he has a good amount of friends and everybody generally likes him. Sebastian also likes getting into trouble, but is sneaky enough to not have it get in the way of his perfect grades. He's on the school rowing team, which is a little callback to his time spent on the sea with Antonio. Speaking of Antonio, you may be wondering what happens for the twins to be separated in this universe, and no, they don't get separated in a shipwreck. I was thinking, at the start of the year, a week before classes start, Viola and Sebastian's parents drop them off at the school to get settled into their dormitories. Antonio is going on a 3-week cruise that's going to cut into the first 2 weeks of school, and Sebastian decides he's going to sneak off and join him without his parents knowing. But he doesn't want his parents to find out or get kicked off the rowing team for poor attendance, so he begs his sister to cover for him. They're twins after all, no one's going to notice, right? She thinks it's a stupid idea, but agrees after he begs and begs. You can imagine the chaos that ensues. And there we have it. Let me know what you guys think of their designs. I really love them, and it felt refreshing to draw some really fun outfits for this video. I'd love to make more videos drawing the various other students and staff that would be in the story, so let me know if that would be cool. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next one.